the Lake County Board of Commissioners. Would all those who are willing and able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority. And may we use our directives for the common good, and for thy honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Here.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here. Very good. We have before us the meeting minutes of the regular meetings of June 15, 2023, June 22, 2023, July 13, 2023, and August 17, 2023. May I have a motion to approve same, waiving the reading thereof?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any additional corrections? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Okay, this brings us to our first public comment portion, but I do believe a little bit of housekeeping is in order. I would like to read back resolution establishing rules for the orderly presentation of public comments during the Lake County Commissioners meetings. In pertinent part, therefore be it resolved by the Lake County Commissioners pursuant to revised code 305.09 that the following rules regarding the conduct of proceedings at board meetings is hereby adopted. Item 1. Persons speaking during the public comment portion must identify their name and residence. 2. Each person is permitted to speak one time period or comment at each public portion. 3. Public comment during the first public portion of the meeting shall be allowed to up to a maximum time limit of 5 minutes per person, unless extended at the discretion of the majority of the board. 4. Public comment during the second public portion of the meeting has no maximum time limit, provided, however, that it may be limited by the discretion of the president or the majority of the board. 5. The clerk of the commissioners or clerk's designee will keep time for all public comments. 6. The board reserves the discretion, if due to length of the agenda or other pressing businesses of the board, to cancel, shorten, or limit public comment at any particular meeting. The board will announce such cancellation, shortening, or limiting prior to anyone commencing the public comment. 7. The board reserves the right to limit comments that are duplicative of comments already made during the current or recent meetings for the purpose of avoiding repetitive or the same comments. 8. The president of the board shall maintain the decorum of the meeting and the president, as well as the majority of the board. Reserve the right to limit comments that are profane or disrespectful in nature. 9. The board reserves the right to terminate, amend, or replace these rules by vote of the majority of the board. This was adopted, just so if anybody wishes to know, on September 16th of 2021. Thought a little housekeeping was in order. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We will now begin the first public comment portion of our meeting. Is there anyone wishing to address the board at this time? Hearing and seeing none, Madam Clerk, let's move on to the first item.
And special resolutions. A resolution proclaiming August 31st, 2023 as Overdose Awareness Day in Lake County, Ohio.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Oh, come on now. You come on up. You got the microphone. But remember, give your name.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Kim Frazier with the Lake County Adams Board in Painesville, Ohio. Commissioners, just on behalf of the Lake County Adams Board, I want to thank you for helping to shine a light on this important day for us. Certainly, Global Overdose Awareness Day is about eliminating overdose deaths, but more importantly, it's about improving upon our ability to be compassionate with one another, to be compassionate towards individuals who are living with the disease of addiction, and stamping out stigma. We know that if we can connect folks to resources to services, we can improve the quality of life here in Lake County and really across the state and the country. Unfortunately, in 2022, we lost 82 lives in Lake County to overdose deaths. That was our highest number since 2017. We know that does not mean that 82 lives were impacted. For every individual who died, there was a mother and a father, perhaps a son and a daughter, certainly friends, colleagues, co-workers, and loved ones whose lives were impacted by that overdose death. So collectively, we need to raise awareness. We need to let folks know that resources are available. A call to our Lake County Compass line at 350-2000, free, anonymous call, can allow any Lake Countian to access resources. That doesn't mean just the individual who is living with the disease of addiction, but that means their family, their friends, their loved ones. We want folks to know that resources are available, and you helping us shine a light on this is part of that important message. So on behalf of the board, again, thank you very much, and we invite you and the entire community to come out to any one of our awareness events across the county today. We're doing a lot of tree planting, we're doing some vigils. All of that can be, the information can be found through our Lake County Compass line at 350-2000. Thank you, commissioners.
Exceptional. And Kim, if I could just add to that, you make a great case in a very succinct way, from a very personal, passionate way. That is so well received. But I think when the rubber meets the road, the Adams Board, with your leadership, I have to say the service being brought to Lake County and your cohesive working relationship with other agencies is exceptional. I think it's near and dear to me about the One Ohio solution, our most recent verdict on being a bellwether county. You personally were instrumental in the successful verdict. I believe that was $605 million. Exceptional. And I have to give personal testimony to my colleagues here. I hope will truly appreciate this. When I made the call to you and said, hey, I need a little help with the Region 13 board, you rearranged your schedule. You were a trusted voice in that room. You helped to put a fine point on what we need to do and why we need to do it. I want to just say to you and to the board that supports you, thank you, well done. And I know Commissioner Regovich has the actual resolution before him. Now, he may not be as eloquent a speaker as our professor here, but he's pretty good. So hang on for some more praise coming your way.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I too appreciate all you do, and taking the stigma away is a big part of that. I was recently, in the last few months, a friend of mine reached out and said, what can I do? My friend happens to be Jeff Monreal, owns a funeral home, and he's tired of burying his friends' kids. And that just sticks with him. He says we have to do more. So education, I think, is a huge part of that. The Adams Board is a great resource to that, as well as many other things. So this is an important day, and I know he's excited to help and be involved. So we see it on the other side in law enforcement, how many drugs and stuff still come into this area, how much comes in. So it's a battle on many fronts, and you're there to take care of the sons and daughters of Lake County, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That being said, we have a resolution for you. Whereas August 31st is known as Overdose Awareness Day, and whereas Lake County Board of Commissioners supports the efforts to raise awareness about resources and services available in our community, local communities in Lake County and around the world are coming together on August 31st, 2023 to remember those who have died or suffered permanent injury due to drug overdose. And whereas International Overdose Awareness Day seeks to create better understanding of overdose, reduce the stigma of drug-related deaths, and create change that reduces and harms associated with drugs. And whereas by holding an event this year, the people of Lake County are uniting with global movement for understanding, compassion, and change. And whereas by creating hope through action, we can signal to people experiencing substance use disorders that are in hope, and that we care and want to support them. And whereas through the use of early and effective interventions, individuals with substance use disorders can recover and lead full, productive lives by coming together to remember them. We stand together in saying even more needs to be done to end overdose in our community. And whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen shares the burden of substance abuse problems and has the responsibility to promote and support mental wellness and prevention efforts of substance abuse. Now, therefore, be it resolved by Lake County that August 31st, 2023 be designated as Overdose Awareness Day in Lake County.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Very good. Commissioner Pleshnik.
Mr. President, I would just add that there's not a person, there's not a family in Lake County that hasn't been touched by drug abuse, mental health issues, and overdoses. I think that when opioid abuse started years ago, a lot of folks said, it'll never happen to me, it'll never happen to my family, and it was a concern that was somewhat pushed to the side. But as time has come on, we've realized that that was a mistake and that everyone is seriously impacted. If you don't know someone who's died, you know someone who's vulnerable. And there's still hope for that person if we get them the resources, the treatment that they need. And that's what today is about. We can't undo the past. We can't fix the mistakes that were made, but we can do better today. And to your friend's point, we have to do better. It's not acceptable to say that this is just going to be the status quo and some folks are going to be lost. This didn't always happen. It doesn't have to happen. And if we come together, we can stop it from happening going forward. But it's going to take a greater focus on those needs, and absolutely, we have to stop the stigma. It's not okay to say that it's your fault and that there's no societal responsibility for addressing these issues. The overprescription of opioids has made a lot of people rich. And I think that's another reason why the head was turned the other way for so long. But to the same point, there's been a lot of added strain and stress in recent years. It was one thing for a perfectly healthy person with a rewarding career to be locked down for months or a year at a time. But for someone who was already struggling to be completely cut off and alone with no access to anyone else or treatment, that was wrong. And we can never go back to those days. We have to have a renewed focus on the needs of folks who are not in the best place, because we'll always have vulnerable people. And I would go one step further and say that at different points in our life, we're all vulnerable. It's easy to say that you're Superman or Superwoman, but at a certain point in all of our lives, we need help. And that's how you really push back on the stigma, acknowledging that no one is perfect, that no one can handle the strain and the stress of life all the time, and that we all need our family, friends, and community to support us. So I'm really grateful that you're here to make that powerful statement, and I'm hoping that today is just one more way that Lake County moves forward to take care of the people who need it. And frankly, we all need to be taken care of to some extent.
Again, on behalf of the board, thank you very much for your support.
Again, thank you. Hold on, you know what's next. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes. Come on up.
Well, you got the right t-shirt.
Madam Clerk, next agenda item, please.
In the Utilities Department, resolution increasing appropriations within Lake County Department of Utilities Project Fund 596, Kirtland Old Town Sanitary Sewer Improvement Project 445S, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechner.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations within Lake County Department of Utilities Project Fund 554, Red Creek Sewer Project 280S.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechner.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
And Job and Family Services Department, resolution approving Lake County Department of Job and Family Services vouchers, date of warrant September 8, 2023, in the amount of $54,387.62.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechner.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
And the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $1,521,824.29.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechner.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $2,892,278.44.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechner.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations for various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechner.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution transferring appropriations within various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechner.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Moving on to departmental reports. Utilities.
No report today, Commissioner. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Job and Family Services.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today I just wanted to reiterate that the customer service line for public assistance changed back in June. For the most part, I think that most of our clients at Job and Family Services are aware of the new phone number and are aware of how to contact our public assistance staff members, but I just wanted to share that number again today. It is 1-844-640-OHIO or 1-844-640-6446. Individuals should call that number if they have questions or concerns about their food assistance, cash assistance, Medicaid, or PRC benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. County Administrator.
Good morning, Commissioners. Just a brief update on the schematic design process of the Lake County Public Safety Center that we are working on. We continue to have weekly calls with the design team, which includes architects, engineers, surveyors, vertical transportation consultants, which are elevators, food, laundry consultants, etc. Things are progressing quite nicely. We had a more in-depth, about a 3-hour discussion yesterday with the sheriff's team. Things are progressing quite nicely. As I noted a couple weeks ago, we'll have our first what's called a 50% schematic design cost estimate around the mid to end of October, which coincides with our timeline to bring our design build team on board. Which is great timing, as they'll be able to look at the engineers, architects pricing versus what's going on in the contractor's world. Design build RFPs are due next week. I'll be working with the clerk on your calendars, as we will have some in-depth interviews with those proposed firms, because they'll be in it with the long haul as we move forward on this process. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Sir. Oh, we're good? Thank you, Jason. All right. Madam Clerk.
Yes, I wanted to mention that county offices are going to be closed on Monday, September 4th, in observance of Labor Day. And the next Commissioners meeting is Thursday, September 7th at 10 a.m. And just wishing everyone a happy and safe Labor Day weekend.
Thank you, ma'am. Legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Engineer.
We checked Ford Road and Payne Road and Williams Road and Blair Road retaining wall after the storms, and there was significant movement on both Ford and Payne. There was some movement, more movement on Williams, and Blair showed some minor movement, but not critical enough to be concerned about at this time.
Very good. Thank you, sir. All right, moving on to old business. Do we have any old business coming to the board? Any old business? Hearing none. Moving on to new business. Any new business?
Mr. President,
Sir.
I would start by saying we're very grateful to all the safety forces in Lake County, as well as the crews that went out to try to restore power, resolve situations as quickly as possible. We had multiple tornadoes and earthquakes in addition to a significant rain event. It was definitely a substantial challenge. From Shoregate Towers in Willowick all the way to Madison, there were crises to deal with the entire county, and it took a lot of brave individuals to go right out in the storm and just handle it right then and there. I know that Commissioner Regovich was on site in Willowick, and we're grateful for that. That said, I continue to hear complaints from residents who do not have power restored, and the unifying theme of their concern is that we engage very forcefully with First Energy, with CEI, to make sure there's more preparation for the future. It is predictable that we will have significant rain events. We do have tornadoes periodically in this region. It's not outside the realm of possibility. We experience them with some regularity, and we want to make sure that we're in a better place next time so the power outages aren't so long. In this day and age, it's not just an inconvenience, it's a safety issue when people can't get on their phone and call for help. And many people were without cell service and power and landlines as they were trying to cope with this very difficult situation. So while none of us have direct supervisory authority over public and non-public utilities, we're all in a position to press for some answers to understand why some areas like Concord took longer to restore power to than others, and try to address these issues. I know you've heard the same things that I have, and so I want to make sure the public knows that while we're working to resolve the issues as quickly as possible, we also know that afterwards there has to be really a session to consider how we can do better next time.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President,
Sir.
last Saturday I was going down Vine Street at my own peril because it's in bad shape, but in the Captain's parking lot and in the Walmart parking lot, there's probably 100 power trucks from out of state. And if you notice, the hotels have been busy over there while they're here. So they were assembled, and I know they went out, but I know from previous experience that that's a daunting process. First thing CEI has to do is get out their forestry people. Most of the power was down because of downed trees and downed limbs to create a safe environment for the power line people to get into and work. So I know they amassed a lot of people at one time, and I don't know how you coordinate that effort, but you could see a lot of people were there ready to go. So continued effort.
Very good. Okay, also continuing on the theme of new business, there was an awful lot of chatter about the outdoor warning system, our siren system commonly referred to. There was a activation of the system. There was concern that some people did not hear it. I think it's proper to remind folks that this is an outdoor warning system, not an indoor warning system. To put it in practical matters, if you could hear the sirens in the house during a storm, it would be deafening outdoors. There are other layers to our warning system here in Lake County, and I would highly encourage, this was actually a topic of discussion at our most recent mayors and managers meeting, that we really need to encourage our residents to sign up for the WENS system. It's the paging call number. It can be to landlines, cell phones. It's very important that there be some layering here. We have these tools and resources available to our residents. I think it bears reminding them that this is an essential tool if you wish to be relying on things, and we also need to manage expectations as to what the outdoor warning system actually is intended to do. There were some concerns expressed about delays in activation. I have been communicating with Joe Busher actually since they were first activated. I can personally attest that a lot of late hours are being put in by our safety forces. I did have Joe, he reached out to the Perry Nuclear Power Plant as a third party that monitors the system, and the system was in fact activated within the prescribed time, as has been the long-standing practice by our Lake County Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department manages central dispatch. It did in fact go out in a timely manner, and there was a 100% activation. There were a number of faults detected. Those faults primarily centered on loss of power. The sirens are not designed to rely on utility power. They are intended to be able to function fully on batteries, and they will transmit an error that says, hey, we've lost main power. So those types of failures or warnings are not indicative of a siren malfunctioning and not activating. But again, as indicated by the report from the Perry Nuclear Power Plant, part of First Energy, strike that, Energy Harbor, they did show a 100% activation. So let's see, I'm going through my notes here. Yes, the only thing that we did not have access to was the leads activation, because that is a protected law enforcement database, and we are basing the report that I'm presenting off of the EAS machine, which gave the initial notification of a tornado warning. So the lead system does also give such warnings, but we do not have access to that for presentation at this time. So if there's any further questions on that, I'll be happy to address them, but I think that we, again, need to encourage our residents, go to their local community web pages. You can go to our commissioner web page, you can go to the EMA web page and sign up so that you can get those notifications directly to your personal device in addition to the alerts. I can tell you on the night that went off, my phone went off 15-20 minutes after the sirens did. So there's no fixed guarantee that just because one phone gets it, everybody's getting it at the exact same time. So layering your notifications is the best way to ensure situational awareness regardless of conditions. So if there's no further new business, I would like to move on to our second public comment. Sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Ken Gautner, Madison Township Trustee. Before I talk to you about what I want to talk about, I'm going to follow up Commissioner Hammercheck on something you just talked about, which is the siren system, something that is near and dear to my heart for 30-some years while I was here as administrator. And I noticed the other night when the sirens did go off, they did wake me up. I'm not that far away from one of the sirens, so I did hear it. But the thing that was surprising was the number of people who were on social media who had no idea what the sirens were for. And I'm like, seriously, folks, these things have been around since the 1980s. But you realize that a lot of new people coming into the community from other areas and stuff. And just a suggestion, I know you put out a newsletter every quarter or so, and that might be something you want as part of your newsletter on a regular basis. You know, all the information for years and years, as I served as public information officer for the commissioners in EMA, we always used to talk about look in the phone book, all the information's in the front of the telephone book. Nobody gets a telephone book anymore. And if you do, it's about this thick. So just a suggestion, because I was really shocked at how many people did not know what those sirens were. And I had to get on social media a couple times because people said, well, I can't hear them. And as you said, Commissioner Hammercheck, it's designed as an outdoor warning system, not an indoor warning system. But after 30-some years or better, people still don't all understand that. So just a suggestion regarding your newsletter, because I think that would be real helpful.
Thanks.
Now my purpose here. I'm going to say to you right now, 370. Does anybody know what that number means?
Number of days.
Yes, it's been 370 days since the Ford Road Bridge was closed down. And we now remind our residents in Madison Township of that on a daily basis. If you go to our website, www.madisontownship.net, we have a counter up there, and that counter changes every day as another day passes. And unfortunately, I think I can stand here a year from now, and that bridge still won't be fixed. And that's the purpose of my question here today. I missed your last meeting on YouTube, but I did on the August 17th meeting. I know that Mr. Gills had said that the preliminary plans for Ford Road were completed, and the new design plans and everything would be in place, and hopefully bid this project out in the spring of 2024. Is that accurate, Jim? So I guess my question is right now, I know there was going to be a memorandum of understanding that was going to be drafted between the Board of County Commissioners and Mr. Gills. I've since heard that that's not going to happen. I'm going to assume that Resolution 7 and 8 today, where appropriations were transferred about, did not include any transfer of money into the road and bridge account that was set up by the Board of County Commissioners on July 20th for the repair of bridges and roads. Is that an accurate assessment that there's been no more money transferred in that account other than for Williams Road?
You're correct, sir.
Okay. So the question is, gentlemen, when are we going to get some money to get this Ford Road Bridge fixed? 370 days is a long time. And even if Mr. Gills gets this out for bid by spring, I can tell you that I'd probably put some good money on it that on August 31st of next year, I could stand in here and that bridge still won't be done. So that's a long time to wait. I think, we've been pretty patient out there. The residents have been patient, and we just need some movement. It's been 5 months since I first stood in this room and talked to you at the end of March about this situation. And I don't feel like we've made a lot of progress in 5 months. Maybe a little. There's been some discussion. But I haven't seen anybody say, Madison Township trustees, we're going to start fixing that bridge. We're going to fund that bridge. And I just want to know when that's going to happen, because I think we've waited a long time. It's bad government, guys. I'm in my 49th year in local government. I started in 1974. And I spent almost 21 years working for the Board of County Commissioners before I retired. And I've never seen anything like this. This is not good government. And anybody who thinks it is, you're in the wrong seat. This is our job as elected officials, is to serve the public and to do the best we can for them. And after a year, we're still trying to decide how we're going to fix a bridge. And I feel bad for the people who live on the west half of Ford Road, because their only way out is Blair Road. And as Mr. Gills just said, there's been a little bit of slippage in the Blair Road retaining wall. But what concerns me more is this coming winter. Any one of you have ever been on Blair Road in the wintertime? It ain't a fun trip, especially if it's ice covered. And I know that Mr. Gills has talked to the Lake County Township Association recently about his lack of personnel for snow and ice removal this coming winter. And I know that he's struggling to find people. And he has different events to try and hire people. But the latest I heard is that the townships may have to, there's been some question about whether the townships can help the county engineer out with snow and ice removal. Now, I have 53 miles of road in Madison Township that I have to take care of. And the county has another 50.5. Madison Township has the most county roads of all 5 townships. And I can tell you, as much as I'd like to help Mr. Gills, we do all we can just to take care of our 53 miles of road. We don't really have, we have an eight-person road department, and it's all they can do to take care of those 53 miles, especially in a bad snowstorm. And out in Madison, we get our fair share of snow. We get a lot of lake effect. So I worry about those people on the west end of Ford Road who may have to go up and down Blair Road this winter if indeed Mr. Gill's department is short-handed and they can't get there. Now we're talking about another public safety issue. It's bad enough right now that we have to rely on Leroy Township or Perry Township to service our people on the west end if there's an emergency because we can't get there fast enough. Guys, this is bad government. It just is bad government. I've not seen anything like this in my almost 21 years in the commissioner's office. And I worked for both boards of commissioners that consisted of 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat, or 2 Democrats and 1 Republican. They didn't always agree. They got along pretty well, but they didn't always agree on issues. But they eventually solved the problem. And we have a problem that's been going on. And all 3 of you are Republicans and you can't agree. I don't even know if you can agree on the time of day. So please, gentlemen, we need to get some funding for this bridge. We need to get this project moving. Not only Ford Road, but Payne Road as well. So, again, if you want to keep track of how many days that the bridge has been closed, just go to the Madison Township website, because we're going to remind people on a daily basis till that bridge is opened up. Thank you.
Thank you. And I can tell you, just from my own personal perspective, yesterday I definitely got my steps in. I'm just delighted that I was wearing tennis shoes. Working with our engineer, our administrator, Charles Colson, Mr. Hackman, we were pulling together language that I believe would be agreeable to all of us. I believe we're very close to upgrading the memorandum of understanding to an actual resolution to put some teeth to it that would be acceptable to all parties involved. We are working diligently to find a way to make this work. There was a lot of give and take. Engineer Gills, if I say anything that's not accurate, please chime in, but I think we've captured a construct. I know that Mr. Hackman put together a pretty good outline, and I know you're trying to flesh it out, so we're working on that. Is there anything you want to add to this, sir, or is that a pretty good summary?
Nothing I need to add, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. So,
Mr. President?
sir.
So I also, Kenny, the engineer stated at the last meeting, I don't know if you were able to see the presentation on the failure of Ford Road Bridge, and which was good for the public to see. But we're going to fund it as the projects come up, because what we're finding is we don't know how much to fund. The cost, what we believe is the cost, is skyrocketed. So as they come up and as they go bid is kind of how we're taking it one at a time. But there's a dedication, I think, by this board to make sure they get done.
Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? Ma'am.
I'm Margaret Bushman, 5357 Ford Road, and I deeply appreciated the presentation last week. But in my opinion, it was about 9 months at least too late from when it should have been. 370 days that road's been closed. We haven't really seen any progress. We had a very full report on what the problems are, but we don't have any idea of exactly what is being done to solve that problem. And it is a problem. And Payne Road's a problem. Williams Road's a problem. I understand that you're making great progress on Williams Road, correct? But Ford and Payne should have been addressed last year at this time with positive steps to get those roads open. And yes, they are more complicated than Williams Road, according to the engineers department. I have to trust that. But for all the times I've been to these meetings, we're getting the same responses. We're working on it. We're trying to figure out a way to fund it. We're going to fund it. And I can understand not funding it until they're ready to do the repairs. I can understand that. But my question is, or my comment, I guess, is that it should have been addressed at least 9 months or 10 months ago, and not put, it seems like we're put on the back burner. Like we're just, yeah, we know they're closed. We're working on it. We're talking. But what has really been done? And you talked last week about having a workshop or a meeting regarding the financing. Did that happen?
No, ma'am.
Why not? Last week in this public forum, you said, we're going to get together, the commissioners and the engineers department, and figure out what we're going to do. And again, you haven't done diddly. And it's infuriating. And I have to take that Blair Road every single time I go anywhere. And I'm scared to death every single time I drive that road. When the weather's good. And I'm absolutely petrified when the weather's bad, or the times when that road was closed because there was an accident on Blair Road. And quite frankly, it's costing Lake County money, because when I go to work in Chardon, I do my shopping in Chardon instead of doing my shopping in Madison or in Mentor or Lake County, because I'm already there. And I'm not going out of my way to travel Blair Road up and down and back and forth. I'm just fed up with the runaround and the rhetoric that, yes, we're working on it. Well, work on it. Get something done. And let the people know what you're doing to get it done. And I do have a clearer understanding on last week's presentation of what the problem is. But I still didn't see any solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Matt, I believe you wanted to speak.
Tammy Gaber, 6023 Ford Road. I do want to thank the engineer's office for the presentation. It really clarified a lot of things, and it would have been nice to have that information prior to this. And I do appreciate the emergency services and everything that went off. It's been a rocky road, no pun intended, and out that way last few weeks. I'm not going to go, because I was going to ask the similar questions, but is there you gave us a good presentation about the status of the bridge. Is there a presentation or information about what your timeline looks like? I know the engineering's now preliminarily done, but what are the timelines? And maybe you have to get us that in another meeting. But you've got the preliminary engineering done. Okay, is it another 2-3 months for the final engineering? And then when does approximately you look at the money being there, and approximately then what's your construction, future construction, and how long will it take? I think that's information. If you could give us that information, we'd at least feel like we know something. I think the frustration, a lot of the frustration is we feel like we're in limbo. We don't have information. We're just guessing, and everybody's suppositioning everything. So that would be really appreciated. I did hear you say that you investigated Blair Road, and there's some slippage, but it's not critical. But what does that mean? Like, okay, there's more slippage. What's critical? Do we need another storm like what we just had? Is that where we are? Is there, come on. Is it okay if he answers?
Of course it's okay.
He's got the most gray hair. Of course it's okay.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to add to it. I just want information.
No, we constantly monitor Blair Road. When we have a big storm like we had, we all double check it, because
Right.
We've got some areas that we're concerned about popping. So far they have not. They don't show any indication that they're going to anytime soon. Obviously, if we get another big storm, that we will be out there looking at it, and if we have a problem, we will close the road down, because we have really no choice. We have some serious not damage, but structural deterioration on the main members, but the sheeting is holding up well. We're comfortable with the condition that it is in at the present time, but we are certainly very, very conscious of the problem there, and we are keeping in close contact with it. We already have a preliminary report on that, and we have applied to Public Works and received a $500,000 grant for the construction. We've isolated that particular portion of the overall project that we were originally anticipating, and we will that money will become available next July 1st. We will be preparing the plans in the meantime and be ready to bid. And we'll be looking for the additional $700,000 that it takes to match that. So that's where we are in that particular.
And that's were you talking Ford or Blair with that?
I'm talking to Blair.
Blair,
Okay.
okay.
Now, Ford Road, we have reviewed the preliminary information from the engineer. We will be meeting with him in the next couple of weeks, them, I should say, and going over that meeting, in that meeting, and we will then direct them to proceed with the design. And they've already done all the surveying, all the base work and that kind of stuff, so they're ready to just start plans. And that's probably going to take about 90 days, which will take us into January, February. And I'll be ready to present to the board the cost estimate that they have determined, and then asking for permission to move on bidding. And the bidding takes about 60 days, so that probably means a move in May, June, and it is a 6 to 9 month project. It will probably not be done until spring of 25.
So we're looking at 2 years.
You're at a while, yes.
Well, yeah. Thank you for that information. I appreciate that. Because for the Blair Road thing, I mean, right where we are, we had 5 inches of rain in 2 days in my rain gauge. I realize that's not scientific, but it's pretty accurate. So I understand Blair Road is holding now. What is the plan if Blair Road closes?
Get out of town.
And
No, I have no idea. We'll have to take a look at that and see what kind of detours that we have available. And, that is a really good question.
yeah, I mean, and it's not unfeasible that we could get another storm like we just got. That's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, look what's going on in the Gulf with the weather and the way the currents are going. Those people on that end are sitting ducks. Literally sitting ducks. You may as well just, say, okay, we're not going anywhere. No school, no work, no nothing. It's ridiculous. There should be a plan.
Let me say one thing. We're confident that we got another storm exactly where we had, because it didn't hit that hard out that way. It hit hard, but not as hard as it hit Menor and other areas.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Then, we're confident that that's not going to be a problem. A problem would come if we had some kind of an isolated mini storm like we had in 2006. Then it might become a problem. So, and we'll have to deal with it when it happens. Hopefully it won't happen.
Hopefully, from your lips. Yeah. I do have one other question too. When the deputy was here speaking, she indicated, because they did do Ross Road paving, or stone and chip, I think it was, and they indicated that weren't going to do anything on Ford to that extent until they do the bridge. And I kind of get that, but at the same time, it's not an easy road. Our cars are shaking. I've got new cars, and they're going to fall apart with the vibrations just driving down. 2 years, and it's just going to get worse. I mean, is that the case?
Well, I'm sure that what we will do is review the condition. We review the condition of every road in the county every year and put priorities up. If we find one that is really deteriorating faster than we expected, then we will make an exception and move from one project to another and rearrange our priorities. But the other side of this whole picture is, as Ken said, I am extremely short-staffed.
I understand.
So we're doing job fairs. We had our last job fair produced about 7 potentials. We're going to do another one, but it's when you're down to a third of the people that you normally should have, and with the number of roads and bridges and State Route 2, it makes it very impossible. I'm not really sure what we're going to do this winter.
Okay. I get it. I know it's a tough situation, but I appreciate anything you can do to help us out. I have one other thing off that subject. I don't. You don't live out there, so you probably don't know. Our cell service is horrendous.
Actually, I do live out there.
Oh, you do live out there.
Spot on. Right.
I drive down I used to have the best cell service. I used to brag about my cell service. I could get a call, I had full bars, everything. My son has a brand new phone and has crappy cell service. He's one of the 13s. Verizon cell service. I drive out my driveway and I have no cell service until I get to 528. I sit in my living room and I have almost no cell service. It goes to SOS only. I can't tell you on a regular basis. I call Verizon, I get the royal runaround. Oh, we're putting up a new tower, we're doing this, we're doing that. And I'm like, when? Well, I can't tell you that. You know, I've got another one telling me that the Eagles are on the other tower and they can't update it because the fledglings haven't left yet. So, but I know that you guys are probably communicate, but I mean, it's to the point that you say call somebody for emergency, and I know the SOS works, but we can't call anybody for emergency. It's ridiculous. So I don't know if you have any pull with the cell, and I'm not the only one. I mean, it's desperately, I'm talking to somebody, I finally get a connection, I'm talking, and the call just goes away. And I have a small business, I run out of my home, I have, people that I need to talk to, just a doctor's office. I have to call a doctor's office 4 times to make an appointment. Yes, I know I can do it online. So, but there's times you need to make a phone call, I don't know what pull you guys have for that or what, obviously Lake County, I'm not the only one suffering over there in Lake County. If you have any help out your people getting us a decent, because we don't have landlines. I'm ready to put one back in. That's where I am. It's the point of ridiculous. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I guess the engineer doesn't want to take that one on.
No, that's not his job.
I disclaim.
Mr. Massey.
Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive, on behalf of Lobbyists for Citizens. We had a lot of requests from a lot of citizens for help. This was a request this week that was really unusual. I did not really know how to handle it, how to help them. So I want to thank the commissioners for putting me on the right path of trying to help out the citizen. I did call Job and Family Services, Suzanne Kazar, and she was extremely helpful in setting me straight as far as how to help the person out. And the issue was dealt with a problem that a young lady had it's a divorce issue, and she was very concerned that her 7-year-old daughter was afraid to be with the ex-husband, and the issue was, does she have to send the 7-year-old with to the husband on Thursday? And Suzanne said that she's not in the court system, but there needs to be a record of what happens. The citizen called Mentor Lake Police, and they would not take a record, which was surprising to Suzanne. But I did suggest that they call the Job and Family Service hotline to get it on record. I also suggested that she needs to make sure that her attorney goes with her to the court. She did do that, and she was in front of a magistrate. And here's what the email that she sent to me. I just want you to know that they denied me and my girl's protection order yesterday in court. I am beyond angry, upset, and scared for the 3 of us. If the courts and the cops can't help us, who can? It is so messed up that they literally just failed us. And if you allow me just 1 second, let me find something here. This is their little 7-year-old.
That is inappropriate, sir. That is inappropriate. Sir, thank you for your time. So, is there anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? Sir, would you mind turning the recording off of the minor child? Thank you, sir. So, is there anyone else wishing to address this board at this time? All right, seeing and hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, thank you for joining us today. This meeting stands adjourned.